Hi, my name is Dan Spickard, and I'm here with my business partner, Matt Benstock, today to talk to you about personal finance. What we're going to go through is a series of slides here to kind of give you an idea of what you're looking at, what you're going to be facing moving forward, as well as the opportunities to put yourself in a good position. Now, Matt and I have both worked within the dental field and with medical professionals, each of us for more than a decade, and we both really enjoy the opportunities with the different universities and residency programs. And we're really happy to be here at the NDC today to provide you guys some education. Matt, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, I just, we came across the need for this years and years ago as we talked to lots of young dentists that we worked with, and they informed us that they didn't teach a lot of this stuff through dental school or dental residency, or if they did, not to a deep enough level that people wanted. And so, everybody on this call is either about to start working and earning a healthy income and have to make real financial decisions, or they're already working, making financial decisions. So we're hoping to make some of those decisions a little bit easier.
So, as you can see here, we have a picture of Mount Everest. Now, we utilize this as very symbolic for what we're about to go through. And actually, the ultimate scaling of the mountain in your financial life, which is, you're during working in your working years is like scaling Mount Everest, and then coming back down is like stepping into your retirement years. And we like to utilize this a lot because Mount Everest, there's an indigenous group of people that help you up and down the mountain to not only navigate the paths properly, help bring all the equipment, are there to help in the event something goes wrong. And those people are called Sherpas. Matt and I kind of refer to ourselves as financial Sherpas. One of the things that people don't realize is more people actually die coming back down the mountain than going up the mountain. And there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a parallel there with finances. A lot of people end up having problems late into the retirement, stepping into retirement, than they realize just because, like Matt mentioned earlier, the financial education that we should have in this country, we do not right now. So that's exactly what we're going to be looking at today. So when we look at the relationship that we have. We're here just to be partnering for your financial success. And we look forward to working together more into the future. Just to give you a little bit of background, Matt and I both have our Series 766 Life Accident and Health. So we could do any of the planning. We're licensed to do the investment side and all the insurance sides as well. So along the way, if there's any questions, just let us know. And then at the end, you'll see our contact information if you'd like to reach out with any questions. Now, we have to get the disclosures out of the way because of all those security licenses that we just mentioned. So then we can move on to get into what we're really facing moving forward. Now, if you think about all the things in your life that you're facing right now, everything that you faced before, then all the things you're going to face into the future, it can be daunting. There's things like unexpected life events. We're looking at rates of return. We're working for different companies and having benefits. We're looking at mortality in our parents and ourselves. We're looking at college costs and how do we choose Social Security and the rising cost of living. It can be such a whirlwind, and it really feels like, and the truth is, we don't have very much of, if any, control over that, and it could be scary. And it could be overwhelming. We kind of treat our finances like one of those junk drawers that we have, all of us have in our kitchens. We just throw stuff in there and then, try to figure it out later, when you really want it or need it.
And if you guys think about a lot of the things on this list, you've already lived a lot of them. I mean, the cost of dental school has probably gone up 20% from when you started dental school until when you graduated, from your first year to your fourth year, maybe more. I'm sure you've all read the studies out there of how expensive a lot of dental schools are around the country and have experienced it firsthand. Dan mentioned unexpected life events. It could be as simple as all your friends getting married and having destination weddings in a year. It could be good life events. It could be, a relative getting sick and needing to take some time off work to help go care for them. Inflation. Think about how much more expensive it is to go out to eat today compared to 4 years ago, even. And so, as Dan mentioned, as you look at this list, very few of the things on this list are areas that anyone controls. And so we wanted to start with one of the area that we realize most of you are concerned with, have concerns about. And in all my years of working with dental schools and dental residencies and doing group presentations to rooms full of dentists, anybody who's under 10 years in the business, anytime I do a survey and ask what's your biggest concern, the overwhelming number one answer is student loans. And this is why. Since 2010, student loans surpassed credit card debt as the number one source of debt in our country. And it's flown past it since then. And so we wanted to just share some of the kind of data out there, or what is typical for a dentist graduating dental school now. On average, they've got about 350,000 of debt. That is significantly higher than most doctors have even.
True.
In 20 as of the end of 2022, 83% of graduates of dental school had debt. More than 8 out of 10 of your classmates also have student loans coming out of school. And 350 is the average. We've seen people come out with 700,000 of school loans. And we've seen people that have less. So, this is a big hurdle or a big challenge that we're going to talk a little bit more about later today on some strategies with it.
Yeah, some of those key takeaways is making sure that you understand the impact, of your financial future and how outside of your control that it is. We claim that we want to believe that we have control over everything, but we don't. It's unfortunate, but unfortunately, there's things that we can do to help us put in better positions. But there's also, no matter what position we're in, there's always a path that can lead us, that we can be led down, or things led sometimes out of our control that could take our financial path and turn it into a negative debt spiral or even worse. So you want to start your planning so that you can gain control. And two great places to start when you're looking at these things is your cash flow and having proper protection in place. These are absolutely the best places to start.
You can at least control the decisions around cash flow and protection planning. And so, guys, what you're looking at right now this is just linear math. We use $200,000 to illustrate. This could either be a single dentist, maybe 3 years out of school, 4 years out of school, with a couple years of experience, picking up some speed and earning a little bit more. Or this could be a first-year dentist married to a teacher, and the combined household income is 200,000. It's becoming more and more common to have dual income households because it costs more to live these days.
I actually only know one. That's Matt.
And and so if you earn $200,000 and you worked for 30 years and you never got a pay increase, you'd earn about $6 million. 200,000 multiplied times 30 years is 6 million. However, if you never got a pay increase, you likely wouldn't stay in your current job for very long. And so what Dan is showing is if we just add a 4% annual pay increase, that in the world of dentistry, pay increases come in two forms. One, you're getting faster and more patients and more comfortable doing more complicated procedures that you can charge more for. And number two, and this one is a little bit more of a controversial of a topic, how much the insurance companies allow you to bill your patients for the work that you're doing, which I know you guys can empathize probably more than we can, that it hasn't gone up as much as it probably should have over time for you guys. A lot of the professors we talk to will tell us the dental insurance companies allow the same amount to be billed for a procedure now as 10 years ago, even though it's way more expensive now, or maybe even less now. And so, but over time, you're going to earn more. If you don't believe me, go ask someone who's been practicing for 30 years what they earned 30 years ago as a dentist. And so as income goes up over time, you're likely to earn 11.2 million over your career. That is, I would say, a conservative estimate for how much income most people listening to this are going to earn over their career. If you're a practice owner, double that number. However, everything that you're trying to accomplish in life, your hopes and dreams, are contingent on that number. You know, your ability to take vacations, to buy a house, to buy a practice, to pay down the student loans, to live the lifestyle you want. The challenge is that things get in the way of you being able to save that money.
That's true. And one of the things that we would like to focus on are not just the things that we are compensated for, but more importantly, understanding what eroding factors can come in and erode all of that wealth building that you have, that potential moving forward. So if you think about the word taxes, when we always ask our clients this, what do you think of? Most people think of like federal taxes and state taxes, but you have to think about the rest, because if you think about it, pretty much almost everything that we purchase after we've already been taxed on the income has its an additional tax. You have pets, you have taxes. If you're a hunter, you have to get licensed. Those licenses, there's taxes on those. Look at your cell phone bill. Pay attention next time you're at a hotel and you're signing your receipts. And there's consumption taxes. Everything that we buy in the state of Pennsylvania, clothing is about one of the only things that you can buy in certain foods, that they don't have an additional tax on. So if you take all those taxes and you add all of them up of what we pay, we see somewhere between 40 to 60% of our clients, are paying some form of tax. Then they're also focusing on debt, and debt is designed to take advantage of you. And the problem is our society is set up that way. We're set up to fail in many ways, and this is a good example. Debt is thrown out there as something easy to utilize and everybody has access to it, but they don't know the rules of the game. The rules of the game put you in a position where you could rack up a lot of debt very quickly, and they can charge you whatever they want, based off of things like your credit score, but there are also tripwires in there. If you miss a payment, late on a payment, you get to the end of a period of a trial period where they're doing 0% or low interest, and next thing you know, you're at 0%, then you're at 21. So utilizing debt to your advantage is something that you can do, but only if you know the rules of the game. And then we have lifestyle. If lifestyle is something that we all need, want, and are not going to really want to have changed in our lives. So when you're working with someone that's saying, hey, we need to make some changes here, try to find someone that can actually help you recapture those dollars, those tax dollars that met people that slip through their fingers, utilizing debt to your advantage. But in the end, though, making sure that you are paying attention to where every dollar is going, because there's a lot of money that slips through our fingers.
And this is helpful for everyone to understand what their picture looks like and what their potential is. If we're setting goals and objectives for 20 years, 30 years down the future, it's good to have this basis of what's possible before we start setting goals and objectives. If you said you wanted to accumulate $20 million throughout your career, but you realized you were only going to earn 11, and then out of that 11, you're going to pay 40% in tax and 25% in debt and 30% for lifestyle, it may cause you to kind of look at that goal and say, maybe I should revise that. But ultimately, everybody's unique. Everybody, depending on what state you live in, that tax number is different, very different. Depending on your situation, you may not have any student loans. We meet dentists that paid off their student loans that still have 25% of their income going to debt between their mortgage and car loans and credit cards. So many people, young dentists, young professionals, have been living like college students for so long that a common thing we see is they get out of school and they want to go buy that car that they see their, engineer friends driving, that they've been in school and haven't been able to afford yet. And so all of a sudden, before you know it, you've got a $6,000 home payment and $2,000 of car payments. And now there's no student loans, but there's other debt weighing you down. So this is an important kind of analysis to go through for each of you guys, and whether you do it on your own or with the help of us or someone like us, it's important to understand what really impacts financial success. And so the most important thing on this screen to keep in mind is that rate of savings.
Boom. That
5% is actually more than what the average American saved last year.
mhm.
And so, if we show someone saving 5% of their income over a 30-year career, they're not going to have $11 million left at the end. They're going to have $560,000. And now on this screen right here, we're assuming that 560,000 is just in cash under their mattress,
Yep.
right? But hopefully you're putting that money to work for you over time. You're putting it somewhere where it's growing. And so, assuming you put it into an account where it's growing, whether that be an investment account or a retirement account or real estate or business values, assuming that that's growing for you over time, that 560,000 grows to about 1.3 million. And as we sit here today, that looks like a big number. If any of us got a check for Christmas or Hanukkah for $1.3 million,
Still waiting for
that
it.
would be the best gift we got this year.
Man.
However, put that through the filter of it just took you $11 million of earnings to get through the next 30 years of your life. It just took $11 million of earnings to get through the next 30 years of your life. What's the probability that 1.3 million is going to last for another 30 years at a similar standard of living or similar lifestyle?
That's the current financial pandemic in our country, and nobody's paying attention to it. So, some key takeaways here: a good rate of return will not save you from being a poor saver. The financial industry will lead you to believe otherwise because those institutions want your money. Your investment rate of return is something you have less control over. That is true. There are times when you feel like a genius. Rising tide raises all ships. Yeah, when the markets do well, everybody does well. But when they don't, and the markets start to go up and down and either down for a period, that's when people start pointing fingers everywhere else. So there is no rhyme or reason to it. Are there inefficiencies you could take advantage of? Absolutely. But not something you could sit there and say, oh, I think I want this one. No, I'm going to try this one. Matt and I have done much work digging people out of bad situations where they thought they would, try to run. And I could absolutely do this. Well, try it for a little while. But the problem that you face is try it with money you're willing to lose, like you're going to the casino, not the money that you're trying to utilize to grow a practice, raise a family, and step into retirement with some dignity. So, can you do this alone? Truly is the question. And if you're saying there is, guys, then show me some solutions. So that's what we're doing. The beginning of this, we wanted to get you with the doom and gloom because it is ugly out there. It is, and it can get worse. And you are set to be fed upon. They call it a consumer society. Our society consumes those who don't have the financial knowledge or specialized knowledge needed to succeed in this environment. And it's constantly changing. So what do? Well, if you have somebody good that you're working with, they will do this exact thing and build a team around you. Matt, you want to tell us a little bit about this team and why they're so important?
Yeah, so everybody on this team provides a specialized skill set, and if we're all working together, we can create a think tank of all the best ideas for all of our clients, and you guys can create a think tank of all the best ideas in all areas of the financial industry. So, student loans are constantly changing. There's a lot of programs that are currently frozen. People aren't sure what's going on. People aren't sure what the best solution is based on their specific circumstances. You really want a specialist on your team that does nothing but student loans to help analyze that piece. That's not us. We have that specialist. If you guys want to be introduced to one, you may know that specialist already. The property and casualty agent, your auto, homeowners, and professional liability. If you get sued at any point, whether it's driving home from work or something that happens at work, that property and casualty insurance is what's going to kick in and either protect you or not. Life insurance. Life insurance is a great way to protect the people you care about. You should have someone with a specialized skill set in that area helping give advice. Banking and lending. This could be for practice loans. This could be for mortgages. This could be for just normal deposit accounts. But again, you want to have some specialized knowledge in that area. Contract review. We're going to talk about this in a second. That could be your employment contract, your will, your power of attorney, your living will, your agreement to buy a practice. The health and disability insurance is someone that specializes in that area. That is not as black and white of an area as most think. There's a lot of gray area. You want to make sure that particularly in the area of disability insurance, that your coverage is customized to really be made for a dentist. You don't want the same disability insurance that your friend that's a contractor has. You want disability insurance that's designed for dentists. And health insurance can be a huge cost. And so you want to make sure you're making the right decision there. Investments, you want to have someone with a specialized skill set in investments. There's too much information in the world of investments to be an expert in that and any of these other areas. And lastly, business planning. You're taking risk starting a business. How do we make sure that you're benefiting from that additional risk that you're taking and that you're building a valuable asset? And so each one of these areas has a specialist that should be involved as part of your financial think tank. And again, you should be building a team. If you want to try to do it on your own, technically you'd be all these people on your team. We suggest you fill these roles with people you like and trust.
One thing I'd like to add that I hope people picked up on that you said, which is extremely important, is the very first part, is building a team. If you have someone that is coming to you, I don't care from what areas, it could be your CPA, it could be your property and casualty person, your insurance person, your investment person. If they're saying, don't worry about it, I can do it all, be careful. I would say don't walk, run in the opposite direction, because like Matt said earlier, if investments alone, if that's their area of focus, there's so many variables, there's so many changes happening constantly. There's everybody's situation's different and the markets are always changing. Someone that's doing that and then doing all these other things as well is impossible. And the person who gets hurt in the end will be you. Now, one of the things that we like to do is provide a tool, for you to look at. And there's a lot of them out there. We're using the Living Balance Sheet as an example because I call it the tip of the spear, and here's why. The reason being is you can actually see everything. Very few places. Usually I log into my E-Trade account so that I can see my wife's company stock, my trades that I like to make, and our savings that we have in there. But then I have to log into my 401k separately, and then I have to log into my life insurance piece, and then my property and casualty company. It's chaos. This actually can show you everything in one place at one time. And there's a number of programs out there that can do that. And that's extremely important to have in your life, so you have an idea of how each decision you make impacts the ones that have already been made, the ones that are making in the future and right now, and they're impacting each other, and they never stay the same. Just like Lou Holtz used to tell his team in Notre Dame, No team ever stays the same. They're getting better or they're getting worse. Well, how your finances are done and go together and impact each other, either getting better or they're getting worse. Wouldn't it be nice to have a place that you could log in and say, okay, how am I doing? I can look at my scorecard to see if I have red or yellow and why. What happened to cause this? And what can I do about it? I like this one as well too, because they actually list out your goals to help keep you motivated. Because this is something that's not a sprint. Former sprinter and sprint coach, I like the races to be hard and fast and over quick. Life isn't like that. Life is the old marathon that never ends. So understanding the what you have, seeing how the pieces impact each other, understanding where I stand as of that moment is something you should absolutely be looking for. And then some places offer things like a vault. You can store things like identification for travel, your wills, your business deeds, whatever it is, your debt that you're tracking, and have everything live so that you can see exactly where you are as of that moment. Matt, anything to add here?
Yeah, so just having a tool to stay organized is going to allow you to make more informed, more impactful financial decisions because you're going to be making those decisions from a point of clarity and through understanding of how those decisions are going to impact all four of those major domains: assets, liabilities, protection, and cash flow. And so this is getting organized, finding a tool that works for you in building your team. That is a logical first step before you even think about making any financial decisions. Have clarity with where you are today, right? How do we plan for the future without knowing where we stand today?
I'm glad you said that, Matt, because there's something else in here that you want to be paying attention to when you're adding these programs. Like when you get your 401k, it could project for you if you save this amount, this is what it looks like in the future. That's not showing everything. If you can find a program that can show you everything from, hey, how's my 401k going to produce? Oh yeah, by the way, what are my taxes going to look like? And oh yeah, by the way, and I have insurance costs and my cash flows of the lifestyle I want to live. Is it going to be able to meet this? And all of these different variables, like we talked about out of control before, what if you could simulate them before you made them? Would that put you in a better place financially? Just having that little piece of knowledge and education so that when you go to make the decision, you can actually see how it could and most likely will play out. That's something you want to look for, when you're looking to add one of these tools to your repertoire. Now, before you sign, this is something that has to do with you first signing on or purchasing a business or working for a company. And Matt, I'm going to let you run with this one.
Yeah, so I mean, the contract you sign as an employee is going to break down how you get paid, how you get bonuses or additional income, what type of benefits you have, and where you're able to work, restrictions on your ability to work. And I implore everybody to review this, and if possible, have an attorney look it over for you. Have someone with expertise in this area look it over for you and give you feedback. I had an experience recently that was very eye-opening with a client who signed a contract with a very busy company, and they were seeing lots of patients, and income was very high. But over the years, they were losing patients and patients. And this was a pretty big company, and they were losing a lot of patients to a competitor. And as they lost patients to a competitor, the income of my client was going down and down and down. And when he signed, you can see in the covenants clause, he had a separation clause or something called a restrictive covenant that basically said if he left that company, they would sue him if he worked with any of his old patients for 2 years within 10 square miles. And the challenge was is it wasn't 2 years and 10 square miles of just his facility. It was any of these companies' facilities nationwide, and they were all over the place. So he was in Pennsylvania. As he started looking around Pennsylvania, it was would have been pretty difficult for him to get another job working in his profession in Pennsylvania. If he didn't want to move out of state with his family, he almost would have had to switch careers. He would have had to go back to teaching instead of practicing for a couple years. He felt like he was handcuffed because he had friends that were sued by the company because they left and worked for a similar company with some of their patients somewhere else. And the legal costs were hundreds of thousands of dollars in those lawsuits. And so if you sign without looking at this, you may, even if you start out in a really good situation, you may lose patients, income may go down. Things may get sour with the dentist you're working with. We see all the time you have a good relationship with the owner, and over time that, tarnishes. And so it's really important to make sure you understand everything that you're signing up for, because if you don't, you may be forced to do a type of work you don't want to be doing or work in an area that you don't want to work.
Now, Matt, you sound like you know this stuff pretty well and probably look at these on a regular basis, right?
Right.
So does that mean that someone should just come to someone like yourself and just say, here, take a look at this, and then go sign the paperwork?
No, I mean, I still recommend we have an attorney, the one that drafts these documents, look it over. So that's a good point, Dan. Don't go to your friend that's a dentist. Don't go to your dental school professor and say, "Hey, will you look over this contract for you?" I'm sure they're going to do the best job they can as a friend or a mentor to try to lead you in the right way, but that's not their area of expertise. So make sure you rely on someone who that is their area of expertise.
Yeah, just like when you're going to have an extraction, you don't want to put the tools in mine or Matt's hands. You know, that is your space. You know, stay in your lane. You know, so the key takeaways here, you know, stay organized. You have to stay organized. Otherwise, things are going to slip through, go in the wrong direction without you recognizing a lot of times until it's too late. The other thing is financial disorganization. You know, the financial disorganization actually is one of the number one factor for people losing wealth. You know, so start building your financial team. Find the tool that you need to make sure that you can see everything in one place at one time, and then monitor it, and even build out models of what if I made in this direction or that direction, and see what it looks like before you make it. Understand your contract. Find a good attorney that specializes with dentists. You know, they exist. You know, there's actually some very, very good ones, probably right around the corner from you here in Pennsylvania, that you could utilize. You know, and then make sure that you vet that attorney that this is the area that they focus on. You know, so moving on from there, getting back to the dreaded student loans. You know, student loans, you know, can put us in a position, or actually set up to put us in a position that they could consume a majority, if not all, of our disposable income after taxes and everything that we pay, you know, to live our lives. You know, so one simple little thing that you can do, is it just as an example, is all student loans are set up to be repaid in 10 years. You know, and then you have a rate that's either variable or fixed. You know, so if we're looking at a fixed rate of 7% over 10 years for that 350,000 that we see out there on a regular basis, you're looking at just over $4,000, $4,064. If you could find someone like that person that specializes in student loan debt, they could help you to find another bank, find another institution that could put you in a better position in regards to your interest rate. And just bringing that interest rate down a little bit, as you know, 1.5%, you know, can make a significant impact, you know, on your short and long-term plans. Now, as we get into this, there's something I want you to pay close attention to. And what I want you to pay close attention to is, am I thinking with my heart, my emotions, or am I thinking with my logic, my mind? Because a lot of times these things get flip-flopped on a regular basis because we feel so strongly about something and how something should be done, not realizing that we're making a financial mistake because we're doing it because it feels good, not because it makes the most sense. And a good example of that is taking debt and understanding the rules around how I can utilize it to my advantage and how not to be taken advantage of. Because someone just refinancing and keeping the payment for 10 years, not even making a change there, you're looking at a almost $32,000 in your pocket that you could have kept in your pocket, which goes out to those lending institutions. Matt?
Yeah, and I just want to say, that's only over 10 years. When we compound that over your career, that's probably closer to $100,000.
Easy.
But two things that I want to make sure everyone on this call understands. Student loans are not like a mortgage. There are no closing costs. There is no cost to refinancing. So if you're at 7% and you refinance your loans coming out of school, and let's say it's at 6%, and a year later interest rates have come down, you can refinance them again at 5% or 4%. You can continue to refinance them at lower rates. The other thing that I wanted people to understand is you can pick and choose what student loans you refinance. We have clients all the time that have certain loans from undergrad or Parent Plus loans or things like that where their interest rate is 3.5, 4%. A lot of times they keep those loans on the sideline and they refinance those more expensive loans at 7, 8%, 10% interest. And so, again, this student loans is not a black and white area. There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of different options. Make sure you have a specialist take a look at them and explain what all the options are for you. But what we then come in and do is student loans are kind of half the coin. The other half of the coin is what is the decision you're making regarding your student loan? What impact does that have on your ability to create wealth and how much wealth you will create? So, what Dan's showing now is a slight variation and an extension on what we just looked at.
Yeah. So in the current scenario, we're going to leave it as 10-year repayment because you know what? I want to pay it off in less than that if I can. Great. No problem. Let's see what that looks like. And what we're going to do is, and what my goal is, was what we hear all the time. Oh, after that, I'm just going to save, that money. I'm going to pretend the debt still exists and I'm going to save that money and invest it and then I'll be free of my debt and I'll just make tons of money. It sounds wonderful, but here's the problem. I like to utilize the analogy of the whack-a-mole game. As a kid, those of you that remember, that mole would pop up, you'd have your padded mallet, you'd knock it down, and another one would pop up. You'd knock it down, another one would pop up. And then what do? We start forming a habit of just eradicating debt. And next thing you know, we turn around and we're 55 staring at retirement saying, whoa, I got a lot of stuff paid off, but where did all my money go? So what we're going to look at is, what if we refinance the loan for 30 years at a rate of 6%? Just saving that 1%. And here's what you're going to hear from the lending institution. Whoa, look at all this extra interest you're going to pay, and scare the living heck out of you, feeding on the lack of knowledge in this space, hoping that you emotionally make a decision to just leave it at 10 years and repay it so that they can turn around and lend it out again and again and again and again, earning tons and tons of interest. So
remember at the very beginning, we said all the things you don't have control over. The financial institutions don't want you to have control over your student loans. They're going to push you to pay them back faster because that is the method that gives the lending institution the most control. And so we're not saying that there's a right or wrong way. There is for each person, for each individual. But as a whole, there's not a right or wrong way for everyone. We're just comparing two different scenarios, and we want to show both sides of the coin, the total debt that you're going to pay, but also the total wealth that you could create. So in the alternate situation, what the lending institutions never show in their analysis is if you did do an extended loan repayment, you are going to have a lower payment. You will likely pay more interest on your debt. However, you're going to have money to put aside and invest and grow over the next 30 years that in the current situation you wouldn't have, at least for the first 10, because you've been paying so much to pay back down your student loans aggressively.
And I would go as far as Matt to say you're also forming the right habit. Instead of keeping banging debt down and thinking that's what I'm supposed to do, it's a savings habit. And if there's one thing that we're going to teach you guys about today that you can walk away from, for me, I would say the most important thing is walk away learning how to save, because that's the difference between, I don't care what income you have. We've had people making tons of money and broke as someone that makes very little money but knows how to save. There's a
And
big
as you're thinking about all this, it's also important to understand that it's not just about the student loans. These things you see on the screen right now, buying a home, getting engaged, planning a wedding, buying a vehicle, buying a practice, saving the right amount, as Dan just mentioned, these are all things that we regularly see dentists experience in the first 10 years of their career. And they all have cost, a lot of them significant cost.
that we turn to debt to pay for because we're going to get them. It's how can we pay for them? Do we want to pay out of pocket if we have the cash, or do we want to just rack up more debt at who knows what interest rate?
It's unfortunate we see so frequently that because people are making student loan repayment decisions with the best of intentions to get that debt eliminated, they end up finding themselves in year 5 when they go to buy an engagement ring. They don't have any money. And so they will take a credit card application for you at the jewelry store so that you can buy that engagement ring. Wedding planners will allow you to put all wedding costs on a credit card. That's not student loan debt at 6 to 8% interest. That's 20 to 30% interest on those type of bills. When you go in to buy a car, most places will finance as much as you need. And again, that may be at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12% interest. And so, if we zoom in at a certain point here, you can see that in year 5, your 350,000 of student loans is down to 204. You can see the debt balance being paid down. And in year 10, it's gone, but you've got no savings built up because so much of your cash flow has been going towards debt elimination. There's just not enough left over to save.
Now I'm going to back up a second. And here's the thing: if you did do this and you were successful doing this and you started saving, you could get up to about $1.8 million by the time you get to the end of your working years of savings. Now, I'm kind of laughing is because I'm saying this facetiously because I have yet to meet anybody that did this. Every single person I have ever worked with, and Matt can speak for himself, when they got to the end and the debt was paid off and they just focused on eradicating the debt, they went out and celebrated and bought something and racked up more debt. And what did they do? The same habit they just formed. They started eradicating the debt, and then there's the whack-a-mole game getting going. So,
And
what
so
else?
it's important to remember that $1.8 million because in this scenario, the only difference we're looking at is the debt balance is being paid down slower. You can see it's an extended debt repayment, which makes the monthly payment towards that debt $20,000 less per year, 20,743. In that column of net annual inflow, what we are simulating is if you took that money and you saved it along the entire 30-year time period. And what you'll find is you end up in a comparable situation, a little bit better, but comparable.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact of the matter is, financially, you're not significantly better off at the end of 30 years. I mean, yes, you're $80,000 better off in this scenario, but it's not, ground shattering. Where it becomes ground shattering is year 5, is year 10, when we look at when you're saving money while you're paying down student loans. Dan and I always joke about the and or conversation. It should always be and, right? Saving and paying down debt, sweet and sour sauce, right? Like it
Amen.
should, and if we're saving and paying down debt simultaneously, you can see that at the end of 5 years, with just taking the difference between what the standard 10-year student loan payment would have been and the extended loan repayment, just taking that difference and saving it, you've got $123,000, almost $124,000 built up. So at year 5, if you want to go buy a $10 or a $15,000 ring, that's okay. You can pay for it in cash. Tell them to keep the credit card application behind the counter. If you need to pay $25,000 or $30,000 for a wedding, you can do that without putting yourself in debt more. If you need to buy a $50,000 car, you can do that. If you need to put an $80,000 down payment on a house or a dental practice, you can do that. And the craziest part about all of this is if we look at year 10, 289,000 of wealth built up and 265,000. If this person wanted to, they could stroke a check in year 10 and pay off the debt balance.
Exactly.
Dan, how many people actually do that in year 10?
Again, virtually zero. And here's why. The reason being is when they start to build and have that cushion and utilize it, they don't want to get rid of it. Yes, it could, yeah, it'd have 20 grand left still, but a little over 20 grand. But the reality of it is when you get a cushion of a couple 100,000, close to 300,000, you don't want to go below that in the future. You will when you need to, but the reality of it is if you have the choice, what you'll end up doing most likely, which is my experience, is our clients chunk down the debt, and most importantly, the thing that's happening in the background is they're saving more and more, and they're forming that savings habit, so they're able to chunk down that debt and put themselves in a better position. And by the way, Matt, thanks for pointing out the and or vernacular. We extract like you do teeth or out of your equation and implant and so that you can do all the things that you want to do, and not just now and into the future.
Yeah, and so again, it's very important. Some of the kind of key takeaways that are important to keep your focus on, or notes to take, screenshots if you're watching this and you've got your phone with you, is that the lending institutions are always going to encourage you to pay back your loans faster. They're going to show you charts and data to encourage you to do that. The same way as if you lent your friend money, you'd want them to pay you back as fast as possible. Avoid those high monthly payments, especially early in your career. You can always overpay your loans. You can do an extended 20, 25-year loan repayment and still pay it off in 5 years. But when things get tight, you cannot underpay an aggressive loan repayment. The other thing is, payments are going to feel smaller and smaller. Your income is going to go up over time, but for most of you, your student loans are going to stay fixed. And so as that happens, that student loan payment becomes easier and easier to afford over time. You know, short savings timelines limit growth. As you're starting to think about how much you can save and the impact of it, don't look over 10 years. You cannot realize the impact of compound growth and compound interest over 10 years. It takes longer than 10 years for money to compound. So to truly understand the impact of the decisions you're making, look at it over your working career. And lastly, when we make decisions with tunnel vision on, laser focused on getting student loans paid off, and it doesn't leave enough excess cash flow to save, that introduces to your equation other debt as life occurs in the future. Higher interest debt, credit card debt, car loans. Investments can keep pace with student loans. They cannot keep pace with credit card interest rates. And so, make sure that as you're making financial decisions, you're not just analyzing the things that are right in front of you, but hopefully, you're working with someone that can help you analyze all the kind of ripple effects and impacts in other areas of your plan.
So let's wrap this up. So if we're looking at our summary, we have wealth that is being stripped away from us. And the best that we can do, according to our industry and our profession, is chase rates of return. We say no. Let's go after the taxes. Let's pay the appropriate amount, but recapture what we can. And that 5% savings rate we can increase, especially over a time frame like 30 years. Let's pay attention to debt. Let's get a strategy to efficiently pay debt down and save on top of it on a regular basis. Then lifestyle. Let's see where every penny's going, because we do exercises all the time with our individual clients and groups And what all we do is something as simple as give them a highlighter and have them bring their credit card statement and go in and highlight the things that either they don't know what it is or didn't even realize it was on there and that they could eliminate to recapture that money. It's thousands and thousands of dollars that we see help people with on a regular basis who didn't even think about it. Now, if we can recapture those things, now our a little over 1.5 million can jump up to over $5.3 million. The only thing we did there was pay attention to where our tax dollars were going. We paid attention and learned strategies on how to recapture that. We paid attention to our debt and we worked in the and in our vernacular to be able to save and handle the debt. Then our lifestyle. We just paid attention to what was going on and where the money was going. That's it. We didn't ask to change anything because we don't expect anyone to. We want them to enjoy it more because when you're not racking up debt, and you know where every penny's going and you know that you're saving the correct amount of money. By the way, it's 20% of your gross income for our generations moving forward. You can actually enjoy your wealth without feeling guilty because a lot of people feel guilty because they don't know any better. They don't know where the money's going. They don't know they're saving the right amounts. They don't know what's going to happen whenever taxes change. They don't know what's going to happen if something in their life changes, like a car accident, an illness, an injury. They don't know. If you have someone that understands the rules of the game and will teach you those rules, you will know, or at least have a better idea. Matt?
And so, Dan, back to that original slide of all the things you can't control, rates of return, tax rates, things like that. The rate of savings, the amount of your income you save is one of the most controllable factors over your career that you have. And so if you're going to start with one area in your financial plan after you're organized and are starting to build your team, focus on saving the right amount. You can control that. We can't control what the stock market's going to do this year. We can control what we save.
Exactly. Now, there's a piece here that we want to share with you, just takes it one little step further. So what you've been looking at is pretty much linear math of if I save this 20% and I invest it over time, what can it turn into? How do I recapture dollars and so forth? Well, there is another step further that you can take, and it's simple, especially if you're starting your financial life. This is something that could put you light years ahead of your peers. And what it is as my income increases, let's say by 4%, it's my choice to determine how much I want to save moving forward and how much I want to spend. Those are things that you do have more control over. And if you could tweak it by something as simple as 1%, if instead of saving 4%, which my raise I got, what if I was able to save and only increase my spending by 3%? That would allow me to save that additional 1%. And if I could do that over my lifetime, if I could form that habit, the ands become more and more. And it gets to the point where it's, can I save and take advantage of all these opportunities? Yes. And when you do, it can put you in a significantly better position financially. There's old adages, it takes money to make money. Those things like that are true. So Matt, what would you like to add here?
Yeah, so the wealth building account factor is basically the idea of automating saving future pay increases. It's not easy to do. We see almost nobody doing this. As a dentist, this is worth its weight in gold because your pay is going to fluctuate paycheck to paycheck. As soon as you go off salary, if you ever were salaried, and as soon as you get paid a percentage of collections or production, you're going to see your pay different every month because you're going to see different numbers of patients and bill different amounts and do different types of dental work. And so if you can have a mechanism set up or a strategy set up to automate capturing the excess income you earn in those months you do earn excess income, it could make a 40% impact in how much wealth you have at retirement. And so as we mentioned, we're here as a resource to everybody. These are kind of the final key takeaways, that your savings rate matters more than your investment rate of return. Your rate of savings is more impactful on your financial success than your investment rate of return. Try to save 20% or more of your pre-tax income. As a household, if you earn 200,000, save 40,000 a year, almost like it's a bill. As a dentist, you're likely going to earn $11 million throughout your career. That should be enough to pay off your loans, save, and enjoy a comfortable lifestyle. If you can't quite figure out how to make the math, talk to us or someone like us, and there's ways to make it work. And lastly, focus on the right order of your financial goals. Most people never learn there's an order of operations of making financial decisions, just like there's a right way to get dressed in the morning. You put your socks on before your shoes. You put your underwear on before your pants, right? Financially, there's a right and wrong order to make financial decisions. Learn them. Okay.
Amen. So we want to take the takeaway summary, kind of take you through what we started for to continue what Matt was saying. Prioritize cash flow and protection, save more, make 20% your minimum, use a tool. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of good technology out there. Is you can put it on your cell phones, you can have it on your computers and both, to track everything and watch everything and educate yourself more. Make sure you're building that financial team around you. One person can't do it all, especially if that person is just you who that does not have all the specialized knowledge in those areas. You want to make sure your student loan payments, are in a reasonable place, as well as your mortgage. There are some rules to live by that can allow you to put yourself in the best position financially, not just in the beginning, but forming the habits along the way to get to where you need to be. And look at finding an advisor as someone like getting a good health coach, or someone to push you to eat healthier, to work out at the gym and to get your workouts in, to live a long and healthy life. A proper advisor, a good advisor will be that person in your life that helps you to not only get to your goals, but be there with you when it comes time to come back down that mountain, where most people die on it. They're going to get you down safely, and that's what you're looking for in a good financial advisor. Matt, anything to add above and beyond that? Because we
No,
open up
I,
questions.
I don't think so. Hopefully, you guys found some value in this and took some notes and some screenshots on some really, really important, key points to walk away with. It will help you make better financial decisions through your life. As we mentioned, Dan and I are here as a resource. If you guys have any questions for us, we've got our phone numbers, our email addresses on the screen. If you'd like to utilize the living balance sheet as a tool to track and organize your finances, to do some planning moving forward for yourself, shoot us an email, call us, text us, let us know. We're more than happy to set up that tool for anyone on this call at no cost for anyone as part of the PDA. That's a tool that we're making available at no cost to everyone at the PDA because, again, the more informed you are, the better decisions you're going to make. And even if you're not working with an advisor, simply having a tool that creates clarity around where you stand is going to help you make better financial decisions moving forward.
And make sure that you take advantage of all the things that we talked about. Building that team, building out the savings plan and paying down the debt, and monitoring your lifestyle. One of the things that's most important for people, to have out there is access to people. And the problem that we face, like we talked about earlier in this country, is that lack of education in this specialized space. I really wish there was a group that was creating something to provide that education. Actually, that is coming. So keep an eye out for that as well. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you again in the not too distant future. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, everybody.